For 25 years, kids and adults around the world have been trying to catch them all, become masters, or champions of their respected region. And if you're like me and it's been a while since you've hopped into a Pokemon game, or maybe it's your very first time, looking at the series can be extremely overwhelming. It could also very well be the case that, like me, you also have a kid who's getting interested in Pokemon and you have no idea where to start, or what would be a good jumping off point for somebody who's never played a Pokemon game. Currently, there are 4 mainline entries into the Pokemon franchise, 5 if we include Legends Arceus, which we are in this list, and there are plenty of side games that we could talk about, but we're going to save those for another time. And so we're going to go in chronological order with each game and see what's a good fit depending on where you're at. My name's Craig with Out of Control Games, and this is our breakdown of where to start playing Pokemon. So let's start with Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. These games came out in 2018, and they are a full-on remake of Pokemon Yellow. These games have been heavily criticized as baby's first Pokemon. And while some might take that as a criticism, we actually look at that as an opportunity for somebody young that is wanting to get into Pokemon for the very first time. If you're familiar with Pokemon Go, which at this point, who wouldn't be, then these games are perfect. They do not focus on battling as much as they do catching, and these games are extremely generous when it comes to catching Pokemon. That is how you're mostly going to primarily level up your Pokemon. It also adds connectivity with Pokemon Go, so you can transfer your Gen 1 Pokemon from Pokemon Go to Pokemon Let's Go. This game's perfect if you have little kids who want to get into Pokemon. For instance, my 6-year-old wanted to give it a try, and it's perfect because it has a 2-player co-op mode. For instance, I can control the main player and she can control a second character. What's great is her character can just run off and do whatever, while the main focus is on player 1. Also, when it comes to catching, the second player can help out. Yes, it does use another Pokeball, but it does increase the odds of catching monsters, especially rare Pokemon. What we love about this game is it keeps the traditional Gen 1 formula. For instance, start in Pallet Town, work your way up to the Elite Four, and then just go and explore the world, while also giving some slight modern updates. Yes, battling is not going to be the main focus here, but if you're looking to just have a fun time, especially with a younger audience, this is a great place to start. Or if you're like me and you just want to relive your adventure from Pallet Town, this is a great entry point. Up next, we have Pokemon Sword and Shield, which came out in 2019. These games are now considered legacy content because all the DLCs come out, and probably not as many players are going to be going back and playing them if you're looking to access all the online features. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't mean that this is necessarily bad, especially since now you can find this secondhand pretty affordably. This game's perfect if you're familiar with the 3DS games and has a lot of experimentation with open world. There are traditional routes to access with an open area in the middle of the entire map. The new mechanic of this game is Gigantamax, which allows Pokemon to grow temporarily, and then Dynamax allows Pokemon to take on different forms. Overall, if you're looking for a great Pokemon experience, and it's been a while since you played one, especially since the 3DS era, this is a great jumping in point. In 2021, we received remakes of Diamond and Pearl, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl respectively. And while many criticize this as just a rehash or a graphical update to a classic game, that's actually not a bad thing. For some of you, you might be looking for a classic Pokemon game to jump back into. Maybe the big open worlds feel overwhelming and give you anxiety, or you just want a straightforward Pokemon game. This is a great jumping in point. There are several updates, especially to the bases, but overall, these games are that classic Pokemon feel if that's what you're wanting to get into. If you're a huge fan of the DS games, this is a great launching off point. Or if you just want a straightforward Pokemon game to hop into. Either way, you're not going to have a bad time hopping into this one. In early 2022, we got Legends Arceus, and this game is probably my favorite recommendation if it's been a while since you've played a Pokemon game and you want something new and refreshing. In many ways, this game is Pokemon meets Monster Hunter, and that's not a bad comparison at all. Gone are the traditional routes and traditional gyms. Your now focus is just go out and catch Pokemon. Yes, there is still battling, which is part of the traditional Pokemon experience. However, now you don't even have to encounter the Pokemon. You can just throw a Pokeball and catch it right there in the main open world. This is a huge change for the traditional Pokemon formula, and it's a good change. There's not a traditional open world. The game is dissected into several regions, and there are in-game events that can drastically change the look and feel, as well as the Pokemon that are going to be available. One of the reasons we compare this to Monster Hunter is there's going to be a lot of grinding involved, especially when you're on the hunt for getting items to make new Pokeballs. Overall, this game is a lot of fun. The Pokédex is definitely a challenge this time around. It'll be very interesting to see if the Pokemon Company takes the formula of Legends Arceus and applies it to several other regions of the Pokemon franchise. Lastly, we have Scarlet and Violet, which came out at the end of 2022. These games are absolutely great if you're wanting to play the latest in the series. They take the traditional route formula of Pokemon and throw it out the window, and this game is now completely open world. You still start off in a little town with your choice of one of 3 starters. However, once the game opens up, you literally can go anywhere and do anything, and you're tasked with one of 3 main objectives. Whichever one you want to tackle first is entirely up to you. This game takes things that we like in Legends Arceus and expands on it. Now, one of the things that plagues this game is a bunch of graphical glitches and slowdowns. That would honestly be our only complaint. It was the amount of times the game would just chug on the Nintendo Switch. But if you don't mind a few graphical glitches here and there, this game could be a fantastic time for anyone. DLC is still coming out, and we've already got the first wave as of the recording of this video. However, we're expecting the second wave, so maybe you'll eventually be able to catch every single Pokemon across all 5 Nintendo Switch titles. Regardless of what Pokemon game you start with, we think you're going to have a great time. Each one definitely caters to a different type of fan. However, we're curious as to what Pokemon game you would start with, or which is your favorite on the Nintendo Switch. Like I said earlier, Legends Arceus was my favorite on the Nintendo Switch, but which is yours? Leave a comment below. And what game would you start with if you had to start over on the Switch? We hope that the rest of your day is absolutely amazing. Take care out there. Remember, life can be out of control as it is. Don't let your gaming be. We'll catch you next time.